Okay, so you sent me a ton of fascinating stuff about all these different school districts, and one name just kept jumping out at me over and over again. Glenbrook High School District 225, or D225. I mean, wow, this place is getting some serious accolades. So today I thought it'd be great to dive into why exactly this district is generating so much buzz and honestly seeming like the envy of so many other districts.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a great deep dive.
We've got news articles from WGN and the Chicago Tribune, so we've got that local angle covered.
Right.
And then we've also got some super in-depth data from websites like niche.com and Test Prep Insight.
Okay.
What's interesting to me is that each of these sources, they're all kind of looking at D225 through a slightly different lens.
Yeah.
You know, so we're really getting a multifaceted view of just how highly this district is regarded.
Multifaceted is a good word for that.
Our mission today is to really get under the skin of this district and figure out what specifically makes D225 so exceptional based on all this great data and all these reports. You know, we're basically on a quest to discover the secret sauce, the key ingredients that make up this impressive reputation.
I like it, the secret sauce.
So maybe let's kick things off with those niche rankings because, wow, they are undeniably impressive.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
D225 is ranked number 2 nationally among the best school districts in America.
Wow.
I mean, that's a huge achievement when you think about how many school districts there are across the entire country.
Yeah, a lot of competition there.
So clearly, Niche isn't just basing this on, you know, one or two little data points.
Right.
What's actually going into these rankings? What are they looking at?
Well, that's actually what's so great about Niche's rankings is that they're really comprehensive. You know, they pull data from the U.S. Department of Education, of course.
Makes sense.
But they don't stop there. What's really cool is that they actually factor in the real experiences of the school community itself.
Oh, interesting.
So they're looking at student reviews, parent reviews, even alumni reviews.
Oh, wow.
Their methodology is super detailed. They consider things like how rigorous are the academics, how good are the teachers, you know, what kind of support do they offer, the range of clubs and extracurricular activities, college prep, how well does the district prepare kids for college, the quality of the administration, and even things like diversity in sports programs.
Wow. It sounds like a truly holistic approach.
Yeah, it really is. They're evaluating these districts from every possible angle.
I'm looking at the Illinois and Chicago area rankings. And it looks like G225 consistently comes out on top in multiple categories.
Right.
It's not just about being the best district overall. For example, they're ranked the number 2 best school district in Illinois.
Right.
But then they jump up to number 1 for best places to teach in Illinois and districts with the best teachers in the entire state. And we see a very similar pattern when we zoom in on the Chicago area.
Okay.
They're number 2 for best school district, but again, they're number 1 for both best places to teach and districts with the best teachers in the Chicago area. That repeated emphasis on the teaching staff, that seems very telling to me.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think could be driving those consistently high ratings for the teachers in D225?
Well, if we think about what makes any workplace desirable, right?
Yeah.
These high rankings for teachers, they probably point to a bunch of different factors all working together.
Okay.
It could be things like competitive salaries and good benefits, of course.
Right. Money always talks.
But it probably also means things like strong support from the administration, opportunities for professional development, you know, chances for teachers to keep learning and growing.
Yeah.
A collaborative and respectful work environment, and maybe even a manageable workload.
Huh. That makes sense.
All those elements, you know, they contribute to teachers feeling satisfied with their jobs, feeling valued, and that would naturally lead to higher ratings on these kinds of surveys.
It's interesting you brought that up about the Chicago area being such a great place to teach, because I also noticed that Adlai E. Stevenson High School District, now 125, they always seem to hold the top spot in many of these categories.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe the Chicago area just has a really great environment for educators in general.
Could be a hub for great teaching.
All right, let's talk about this idea of teacher satisfaction, because the Glassdoor data you dug up,
Oh, yeah.
it really jumped out at me. D225 has a 4.2 out of 5 rating on Glassdoor,
Okay.
which is already pretty impressive.
Pretty good. Yeah.
But get this, 100% of the teachers who responded said they would recommend D225 to a friend as a place to work.
Wow. 100%.
That referral rate is a perfect score.
That is really impressive.
It's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
What do you think that tells us about what it's actually like to work as a teacher in D225?
Well, I think a perfect referral rate, like that signals something deeper than just, people being generally happy.
Okay.
It suggests a really positive work culture, a place where teachers feel genuinely supported and excited to come to work every day.
Yeah.
Think about it. What would make you recommend your job to a friend?
Huh. Good point.
It probably means you've got great leadership leaders who listen to their staff and value their input.
Yeah.
A collaborative atmosphere where everyone's working together, helping each other out.
Right.
Access to resources and professional development that actually make teachers feel empowered in the classroom.
Okay.
And maybe even a sense of shared mission and purpose, like everyone's on the same page working towards a common goal.
Makes sense.
All of these things, they can create a really strong sense of loyalty among teachers, and that translates into them being willing to advocate for their district, to recommend it to their friends.
It makes sense that when teachers feel supported and valued, that's going to have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
It's going to create a better learning environment for the students as well.
Definitely.
Speaking of students, let's shift our focus a bit and talk about their well-being and safety.
Okay.
The data we have on their sense of social emotional security at both Glenbrook South and Glenbrook North is really interesting.
Yeah, what's your take on those numbers?
Well, I'm curious to hear your expert perspective. What do these numbers really tell us about the student experience in D225?
So the data shows that at both Glenbrook South and Glenbrook North, only a tiny percentage of students, just 3%, at each school reported having negative experiences related to things like bullying or teasing or feeling excluded.
Wow, 3%? That's really low.
And while a larger group, reported having neutral experiences, 32% at Glenbrook South and 24% at Glenbrook North, the vast majority of students seem to feel really safe and secure socially and emotionally.
That's good to hear.
What's important to understand is what the sense of social emotional security scale is actually measuring.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
It's designed to gauge how students perceive their social environment at school.
Okay.
Do they feel safe, respected, and included by their classmates and by the school community as a whole?
Right.
So those really low percentages of negative experiences, I think that suggests a real effort on the part of the district to create a positive and inclusive social climate.
Makes sense.
And, this is something that's being increasingly recognized as a crucial element of student well-being overall, and even their academic success.
So it's not just about pushing kids to get the highest test scores.
Right.
It sounds as D225 is really focused on creating a supportive and inclusive atmosphere that allows students to thrive in all aspects of their lives.
Exactly, a holistic approach.
Okay, let's talk about those more traditional indicators of school success, academics and achievement.
Right.
The Glenbrook schools have received some really impressive formal recognition, haven't they?
They really have. In 2023, they received the National Blue Ribbon School designation.
Wow.
And specifically under the category of exemplary high-performing schools, which is a really prestigious national honor. It's an award from the U.S. Department of Education, and it recognizes schools that demonstrate consistently high levels of academic achievement.
That's huge.
Also, in 2023, they received the Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition for outstanding and invaluable service to the community, which highlights the district's positive impact, beyond just academics.
So they're really making a difference in the community.
It seems like it. And of course, as you mentioned, both Glenbrook North and Glenbrook South, they have a long history of receiving both state and national recognition for academic excellence.
It's impressive.
It is.
The graduation rate and the college enrollment figures from their 2021 graduating class, they're also really impressive.
Yeah. What do you make of those numbers?
Well, a 96% graduation rate, that means that almost every single student in D225 is completing high school.
That's right.
And then on top of that, a 98% college enrollment rate.
Wow.
That tells me that almost all of their graduates are going on to pursue higher education.
Yeah, it seems like they're setting their students up for success.
And I noticed that the 2021 class, they had 14 national merit semifinalists and 176 Illinois State scholars. That's pretty concrete evidence of how many high-achieving students there are in D225.
Yeah, and it speaks to the rigor of their academic programs. That they're able to foster that level of achievement.
Okay, this brings us to what might be the most intriguing finding of all.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
The fact that D225 is considered the #1 most envied high school district in Illinois, and they came in 31st nationally in that Test Prep Insight survey highlighted by the Chicago Tribune article.
The most envied district. That's a fascinating concept.
I know, it really caught my eye, too. How did they even figure out which districts were considered the most envied? What does that even mean?
Well, what's interesting about Test Prep Insight's methodology is that it goes beyond just, the typical objective data.
Right.
They actually surveyed public perception.
Interesting.
They conducted a national online survey of 3,000 adults.
Okay.
And they carefully designed the survey to represent a really diverse range of demographics.
Oh.
And the key question they asked was hypothetical.
Okay.
If you could choose any school district in the country, regardless of where you live, where would you most want your kids to go to school? So they're not just looking at test scores or rankings, they're tapping into people's aspirations.
Right.
They're trying to figure out which districts are seen as the most desirable.
It's a really interesting approach because it goes beyond the numbers.
Exactly.
It's about how people feel about these districts.
Right. It's about perception and aspiration.
There's a quote from the D225 superintendent, Charles Johns, in the article that I thought was interesting.
Oh, yeah. What do you have to say?
He attributes D225's success to the strong support they get from parents and the community.
Makes sense.
And he also emphasizes, again, the importance of their highly skilled professionals, their teachers.
It all comes back to the teachers.
It seems like in the survey itself, it actually highlighted an interesting trend.
Oh, what's that?
It found that the most sought-after districts, the ones that people really want to send their kids to, they tend to be located in wealthy suburban areas that are close to big cities.
Oh.
So D225 kind of fits right into that pattern. That socioeconomic context probably plays a role in their desirability and the resources they have available to their schools.
Definitely.
It all kind of contributes to this sense that D225 is a district that other people envy.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, so let's try to put all this together.
Okay.
We've got those consistently high niche rankings across all those different categories.
Right.
We've got incredibly positive feedback from teachers on Glassdoor.
Yeah.
We've got a district that's clearly paying attention to students' social and emotional well-being.
Uh-huh.
They've got amazing academic achievements. And then we've got this survey that tells us D225 is literally the most envied district in Illinois.
Wow.
What does all of this tell us? What is it about D225 that makes it so desirable in the eyes of others?
Well, I think when you look at all this information together, it becomes clear that this envy surrounding D225, it's not because of just one or two standout things. Yeah. It's the result of a whole bunch of positive attributes all working together. This is a district that not only achieves exceptional academic results, but also excels at creating a truly supportive and positive environment for both its students and its teachers.
Yeah.
The high levels of teacher satisfaction, that likely contributes to the quality of instruction and to the overall positive school climate, which then in turn helps to support student well-being and their academic success.
I see.
So it's like this positive feedback loop.
Makes sense.
And that holistic reputation built on multiple pillars of excellence, that's what makes D225 so highly regarded and, yes, so envied by other districts.
Right.
It's like the complete package.
Yeah, it sounds like
a recipe for success.
So to sum it all up, based on everything we've explored today, the reasons why Glenbrook High School District 225 is the envy of other districts, they're really multifaceted.
Right.
It's definitely about their strong academic performance.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's also about their teachers. The fact that their teachers are so incredibly satisfied with their jobs, which undoubtedly has a huge impact on the quality of education.
It does.
And then there's the fact that D225 clearly prioritizes creating a safe and positive learning environment where students' social and emotional needs are taken care of.
Absolutely.
And that Test Prep Insight survey that gives us this fascinating direct measure of how highly people view D225.
Right.
The fact that so many people across the country would choose to send their kids there if they could.
It speaks volumes.
It really paints a picture of a district that isn't just successful on paper, Yeah. It actually cultivates this really desirable and supportive ecosystem for both students and staff.
I think that's a great way to put it.
It sounds like this is a district where everyone thrives.
Yeah, it really does.
It's amazing to see a district that's firing on all cylinders like that.
It is inspiring.
It really makes you think, what is the most important ingredient in creating a truly great school district?
Yeah.
Is it all about academic results, or do things like teacher satisfaction and student well-being play an equally, if not more significant role? Something to ponder, for sure.
It is a big question.
Food for thought.
Definitely.
Well, this was fascinating.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
I always enjoy our deep dives.
Me too.
Until next time.
Sounds good.